Success is built one small step at a time. Sarah sat at her desk, staring at the stack of textbooks in front of her. It was a quiet evening, and she had an important exam coming up in just a few weeks. She had been feeling tired lately, and the idea of studying for hours more felt overwhelming. How am I going to get through all of this, she wondered, her thoughts drifting to how much easier it would be to relax on the couch and watch a movie instead. But then, Sarah remembered something her grandmother used to say: success is built one small step at a time. It was a phrase Sarah had heard growing up, but it had never felt as relevant as it did now. She closed her eyes for a moment and thought back to a time when she had faced challenges before, and how pushing through those moments had brought her to where she was today. A year ago, Sarah had been in a similar situation. She was preparing for the same series of exams, but back then, she had much more to worry about. Her schedule was packed with school, part-time work, and family commitments. It felt impossible to find time to study. Every time she sat down to open her books, there seemed to be another distraction pulling her away. Sarah vividly remembered one night in particular. She had just come home after a long shift at work, and all she wanted to do was sleep. But she had promised herself she would study that night, even if it was only for an hour. Sitting down at her desk, she felt the weight of exhaustion pulling her eyelids down, but she forced herself to open the first book and start reviewing her notes. It wasn't easy. The first few minutes dragged on, and she kept glancing at the clock, hoping time would move faster. But then, something interesting happened. After about 20 minutes, Sarah noticed that she was no longer focused on the clock. She had found a rhythm, and the material she was reviewing started to make sense. That 1 hour turned into 2, and before she knew it, she had covered more than she expected. That small victory became a turning point for her. Sarah realized that it wasn't about waiting for the perfect moment or feeling completely motivated. It was about showing up and putting in the work, even when she didn't feel like it. Each time she studied, no matter how little, it added up. She started to believe in the power of consistency. In the following weeks, Sarah continued to push through her tiredness, her doubts, and her distractions. Some days were harder than others, but she remembered that feeling of accomplishment after each study session. Slowly but surely, the material became clearer, and her confidence grew. By the time exam day arrived, she felt prepared. She walked into the exam room with a calm sense of focus, knowing she had done everything she could. When the results were released, Sarah's hard work paid off. She passed the exam with flying colors. The sense of pride she felt wasn't just about the grade, but about the journey she had taken to get there. It taught her an important lesson: success didn't come from waiting for motivation or inspiration. It came from showing up, day after day, and giving her best effort. Now, sitting at her desk again a year later, Sarah felt the same doubts creeping in. But instead of giving in to them, she reminded herself of her past victories. She knew that the key to success was right in front of her. It was the habit of starting, even when things felt difficult. She didn't need to conquer everything at once, she just needed to take the first step, and the rest would follow. Sarah took a deep breath and opened her textbook. One small step at a time, she whispered to herself. She set a goal to study for just 30 minutes, knowing that it would lead to more. The first few minutes were tough, as her mind was still full of distractions, but soon, she found her rhythm. The words on the page started to connect, and Sarah could feel her confidence growing again. As she studied, Sarah thought about how far she had come. A year ago, she wasn't sure if she could handle the pressure of balancing work, school, and exams. But now, she understood that her success wasn't about how much time she had or how easy the process felt. It was about persistence, determination, and trust in herself. She thought about all the students around the world facing similar challenges. Some of them might be feeling overwhelmed like she was, but she hoped they knew the truth she had learned, that no matter how hard things seemed, every small step forward brought them closer to their goal. Each study session, each review of their notes, each attempt to understand a difficult concept, it all mattered. Sarah smiled as she looked at the clock. Her 30 minutes had turned into an hour. She felt proud of herself for starting, and now she was ready to keep going. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew that with hard work and patience, she could achieve her dreams. As the evening wore on, Sarah kept studying, energized by the knowledge that her efforts were building toward something greater. And with each passing day, as she continued to push forward, she knew that success was just a series of small steps, taken one after another. Vocabulary. Overwhelming, adjective, too much to handle, very strong or intense. Example, the idea of studying for hours more felt overwhelming. Exhaustion, noun, extreme tiredness. Example, she felt the weight of exhaustion pulling her eyelids down. Distraction, noun, something that takes your attention away from what you are doing. Example, her mind was still full of distractions, but soon, she found her rhythm. Rhythm, noun, a regular pattern of movement or activity. Example, after about 20 minutes, Sarah noticed that she was no longer focused on the clock. She had found a rhythm. Drag, verb, to pull slowly or with difficulty. Example, the first few minutes dragged on, and she kept glancing at the clock. Packed, adjective, completely full or crowded. Example, her schedule was packed with school, part-time work, and family commitments. Doubt, noun, uncertainty about something, lack of confidence. Example, Sarah felt the same doubts creeping in. Accomplishment, noun, a feeling of pride or success after completing something. Example, she remembered that feeling of accomplishment after each study session. Confidence, noun, a feeling of self-assurance or belief in one's abilities. Example, slowly but surely, the material became clearer, and her confidence grew. Persistence, noun, continuing to do something despite difficulties. Example, it was about persistence, determination, and trust in herself. Consistency, noun, the quality of always behaving in the same way or following the same routine. Example, she started to believe in the power of consistency. Determination, noun, the strong will to do something, even if it is difficult. Example, it was about persistence, determination, and trust in herself. Pressure, noun, the feeling of stress or urgency to meet expectations. Example, a year ago, she wasn't sure if she could handle the pressure of balancing work, school, and exams. Victory, noun, success in overcoming a challenge or winning. Example, that small victory became a turning point for her. Motivation, noun, the reason or desire to do something. Example, success didn't come from waiting for motivation or inspiration. Trust, verb, to have confidence or belief in something or someone. Example, it was about persistence, determination, and trust in herself. Commitment, noun, a promise or decision to stick to something, like a goal or task. Example, but she had promised herself she would study that night, even if it was only for an hour. Flying colors, expression, to succeed brilliantly or do something very well. Example, when the results were released, Sarah's hard work paid off. She passed the exam with flying colors.